My name is Michael Toney, and I am the Global Creative Director of Custom Programs at Foundry. It starts with our content strategists initially in their role. They do their interviews with the clients. They have to get an understanding of what the client wants to say. And then comes in, creative, the program managers, and we all have our conversation, our internal breakdown where the content strategists will break it down to the creatives, the needs and wants of the clients. And then for me as a little special additive, I will speak to the analytics team. And I'll try to figure out comparatively how has something like this performed, whether it's a video, whether it's a BrandHub. I'm trying to look at benchmarks. I'm trying to look at user activity, why a user made a decision that they made, and how I can leverage that data into something we've done creatively. Then the next step from there is ideation. So I will come up with specific ideas that I think relate to a lot of the themes or the strategy as a whole. I will take those ideas creatively, I'll lay them down with a couple of graphics, but I don't want to be too prescriptive when I am collaborating with other creators. So once the concept has been established for a BrandHub, my first instinct is I want it to feel like an entire ecosystem. So whether I am using stock imagery, and in this particular case for open text custom imagery, I want the BrandHub to feel as though once you go there, it is a complete space. The way I like to pick the images or create the images is just making sure the visual shape language is the same, making sure the lighting and the color is very similar, that it all feels like it comes from the same family. In the case of open text, it was about making sure anytime you were in that ecosystem that you understood which pillar you were in. Whether we were talking about security, whether we were talking about storage, you knew immediately where you were and what you were digesting. And for me, that's the most important because the viewer then is naturally drawn down through the content. They feel like they're in an immersive space. And I think you can do that generally with any medium, but the BrandHub in particular lends itself to that as it's a contained content hub. So the way we handle the imagery really gives a feel for the space of the BrandHub. Now, in the case of open text, this was unique because we were creating something that was net new. So the most important thing when it came to branding for this particular campaign is that everything felt cohesive. All the imagery came from the same place. We had 3 primary images that were created that set the tone for the campaign. And then from there, every new illustration stemmed from that. So it all felt cohesive and it all felt like one ecosystem. Very easy for a campaign like this, but I think it also allowed the viewer to feel comfortable kind of living in this space and consuming the content. Once the creatives are finalized, the only other step that's really left is to upload them. Where the designers will collaborate with the project managers and making sure when the content is then uploaded that everything is framed accordingly. Composition and framing is generally the last step, and you can have an amazing creative and it can just be misaligned from framing and that can throw everything off. So we collaborate with the program managers. We make sure everything is aligned accordingly. We review the site a few times. We make sure it's aligned when it goes into mobile, on different screen sizes. And once it looks pretty great to us, that's when we show it to the client and we let them know it's ready. I would say feedback is pretty crucial. Oftentimes we generally don't get a lot of feedback. And the reason for that is the process as a whole is very collaborative. You're getting a lot more feedback when you're working in a silo, because then you create a thing, you bring it to the table, and then they give you their views on it. How we essentially operate is it's a constant back and forth. So a lot of the time when we start to deliver these items, the client's expectations are already managed. They know exactly what they're seeing. They've actually been a part of the process. It's very important for me and my designers to not also present the creatives that we showed to our clients, but also to educate them on the design decisions. So we find when we're collaborating and we're working together that there's a lot less feedback, and generally it's mostly comments about how can we now elevate this thing together. When I see a brand kind of really using and stepping into the creative that we've made for them, there is a bit of a joy in it. I love the outcomes that design can create. So when I see the ROI come in from something that we've designed strategically, that ends up being a big draw for me, because then I know all of the creative thinking, all of the research, all of the process has paid off for us creatively, but then also for our partners.